Okay, found it. You got it, Amy? Good.
Awesome. Welcome everyone to another session of the Career Ready Club. We're excited about today's session. And I was telling someone just recently that this will be our 10th event, or maybe this is the 9th and the next one will be the 10th event that we have hosted for the Career Ready Club. And we're so excited to have all of you here today for an excellent session. Next slide, but first we want to say that the Career Ready Club, for those of you who are not familiar with it, we are sponsored by the Worldwide Student Government Association. You can advance it to the next slide. Student Government Association, as well as the Worldwide Career Services team here at Worldwide. And you can go ahead and advance it to the next slide. And of course, we are with the Dean of Students Office. So our agenda for today, we'll have opening remarks. We'll have tell you a little bit about what's coming up, and then we'll go right into our speaker introduction. We'd like to give her as much time as possible. So again, welcome. Go ahead and advance to the next slide. So of course, our mission with the Career Ready Club is to assist you, our students and our alumni, to become career ready by connecting you with industry professionals, to enhance your career competencies. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. We actually currently coordinating a session just on career competencies. So you hear more about that later. Also to help you understand and find the career tools that we have available to you as Eagles. And of course, as you very well know, we are a lifetime resource. So we like to make sure that all of our students and alumni are aware of all of our resources that's free and available to them at any time. Also to provide opportunities to experience the corporate culture of many of our quality employers. Next slide. So let's talk about some of our upcoming events. Well, coming up in March, we have actually a 2 or 3 career expos. So if you're in the Prescott area, or if you're interested in traveling to the Prescott area, they will have their Spring 2024 Industry Career Expo on March the 7th. And I'm happy to say that on March the 8th, we will be the Career Ready Club, or actually it's sponsored by the Career Services team, but we will be sponsoring a employer site visit to C.A.R.E.E.R, that is an aviation maintenance company down in Miami Springs. So if you're interested in participating in that employer site visit to C.A.R.E.E.R, there's a QR code right here. You can use that to register, and we'll give you more details about it, but it will be from 8 to about 1 p.m. Unfortunately, there's no funding available for this. You have to basically provide your own travel. However, if you're flying in, if you need a ride from the airport or something like that, please feel free to let us know. We may be able to accommodate that. On March the 21st, we will have the Industry Career Expo right here in Daytona Beach. And that is always a huge one. I think at the previous one, which was the Fall Expo, they had over 4,000 students to attend. I think the spring one may be a little less crowded, maybe around 2,000 if you call that, not quite as much, but that will be held on March the 21st. And of course, going into April, we will have the Worldwide Virtual Industry Career Expo on April the 18th. So these are some dates that we have for you to put on your calendar. Next slide. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. All of these events are also posted in Handshake. So feel free to go there as well, or use the QR code that's on there. So just a couple of announcements. Congrats, and I think I saw Daniel Bush join us here on the call. Daniel, I don't know whether your video is on, if you want to maybe put your video on. We want to congratulate Daniel Bush on being selected as our new Career Ready Club student ambassador. So he will be representing the club when the SGA needs to a liaison just to get a little bit more information from the student perspective on what the Career Ready Club is doing. So if you would, Daniel, if you want to give your wave there, thank you very much for volunteering. And we appreciate you going above and beyond. So we're glad to have you aboard, and we will be definitely collaborating with you and keeping you updated. Daniel is on most of the events that we have for the Career Ready Club, so we appreciate him volunteering and stepping up. Also, would like to say that we had a very, very, very successful employer site visit just this last week. Many of you probably saw the pictures online to Gulfstream. We hosted a trip to Gulfstream Aerospace. We had a total of about 25, I think 20 of those were students. The interest in participating in this was just, wow, it was just out of sight. And everyone that was there really enjoyed not only the employer site visit, but we had a meet and greet at the Savannah campus on the night prior. And quite a number of them were able to network not only with a Gulfstream representative, but with so many of the students from all over. We had two to join us from California. We had one to join us from Phoenix, one from, I believe, Colorado and Washington State. I think Phoenix was also one, as well as Tampa. And everyone else was either from New Georgia or a Florida area. So it was a tremendous success. So we will be looking forward to doing more of these in the future. And of course, if you have any recommendations on topics or employer site visits that you would like for our team to consider to coordinate, please feel free to let us know. You can put it in the chat box, or you can email us at www.C.A.R.E.E.R, WWCARSER at erau.edu. So that's www.C.A.R.E.E.R, which stands for WW Career Services. All right, I think that takes care of all of the announcements. Next slide. All righty, so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rose Carlson, who is the Associate Director for Career Services, to introduce our speaker and our guest presenter for today. Rose, all yours.
Thank you, Arnold. We are all very fortunate today to have with us Brittany Davis. She is the Director of the Office of Prestigious Awards and Fellowships. She has a lot of knowledge in this area, and it was a recommendation by one of our Career Ready Club members to host an event such as this for the graduate application process. So we heard you and we listened, and without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Brittany so she can get started on her presentation. Thank you.
Hello. Am I unmuted? Okay, good. No? Yes? Okay, great.
You're good. I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. I don't do Zoom as often, so wish me luck here, everyone. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Oh, good. I put them on a screen that's not the one in front of me. This is going to go even better. If I'm looking away, it's because the slides are here and the camera is here. So first of all, thank you all for having me. This is exciting. I put together these slides with some help from the Undergraduate Research Institute at the Prescott campus. So that's why they're on the slides. And it's really, I think of this as, it's an application session, but it's really everything you need to know about why you'd want to go to grad school, how to apply, but also how to fund it. And I have a special guest with me. Miles Osborne is here. He is an Embry-Riddle alum. Miles, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Miles Osborne. Dr. Harris is correct. I'm an Embry-Riddle alum from this past May. So I've only been in grad school for about 6 months, but I'm a current master's student at the University of Pennsylvania. And Dr. Davis was kind enough to help me out through a lot of my graduate application process. So returning the favor now a little bit and helping you guys with that process if you're interested. So imagine there'll be a point where you'll be able to ask me some questions and I'll do my best to help you guys out and talk about my experiences as well.
Yes. And Miles, is that Penn in software engineering master's? Okay.
It's a little convoluted, but software engineering at Embry-Riddle, electrical engineering at Penn. But
Right.
I'm very much still a software engineer. We can go more into that later if anyone's curious about how that translates.
Yeah. Sorry, I always get it wrong because it's one to the other, and then
Yeah,
here we are in life.
There's a reason.
Okay, so this is just out of curiosity. If you want to share in the chat, what do you hope to gain from going to graduate school? It's a good question, right? Like there's got to be some reason to spend more time in school. And maybe Miles, I'll have you answer this question. What did you hope to gain from going to graduate school since you just made this decision a year ago?
All right. So people are starting to answer, but I guess I'll start while people are still typing stuff in. When I first applied, at least, it was definitely to gain a little bit more knowledge. It's not to say that I didn't enjoy my time at Riddle or it wasn't like productive, but I found out there were still things that I wanted to learn about my discipline that I don't think I was in a position to learn at Embry-Riddle. So I definitely sought out a different environment to learn more about the field I specialize in. And of course, to gain new experiences, meet new people, and just to travel. At the moment, if I look outside my window, it is a winter wonderland, but I'm quite enjoying it, although I do slightly miss it being warm during the winters. So I think it's definitely great to just have a different new experience for the second half of my, or scratch that, second, third probably of my educational career.
Yeah. And the answers in the chat are kind of spot on. Better opportunities working for a company, more research experience, better job opportunities in the future, gain more knowledge. Yeah, career opportunities. That is also what motivated me to go to graduate school way back in the day. We won't talk about things that happened during the last ice age. But it was really thinking about, I don't think I know enough to get the job I want to have. So what do I need to do to get the job? And I kind of had two options. One was work at a really low paying entry level job for a few years, and the other was go to graduate school. And I was like, more school doesn't sound so bad. And so then you get another graduate degree, or the first graduate degree, I should say. There are lots of benefits of graduate school. Many jobs, you can be in a higher tier of position, right? They might say, okay, you can be a level 1 with a bachelor's and 5 years of experience, but you could get to a level 2 if you had a master's degree without having to work those 5 years first, which can obviously up your earning potential now and in the future, which is huge. But then there's the non-monetary benefits of going to graduate school. So the knowledge that you learn, the experience that you gain, and the connections that you make, right? So if you're going to graduate school at Embry-Riddle, you will increase your connections within the Embry-Riddle community. If you go to graduate school somewhere else, you'll have access to an entire another network of alumni that you can go to events with and meet with and reach out to for informational interviews and that kind of thing. So I'm a person who has 3 degrees from 3 different universities. So I'm a part of 3 alumni networks. If you think that means that 3 sets of people hit me up for money all the time, that is also definitely 100% true. But it also means that depending on the kind of thing you're looking to do, there might be different alumni of that institution that you could connect with and say, hey, I'm an alum of Embry-Riddle, just like you, and I'm looking to work at your company. Would you be able to do an informational interview with me, and really kind of give me some insights and tips that I might be able to use as I apply for jobs there? And alumni are all like, everybody loves their school. They're always willing to give back to their school in a way that they might not to just a random person who sends them a message on LinkedIn. Have a slide here. This basically tell you undergraduate and graduate studies are not the same. Miles, what has your experience with this been so far?
This is spot on. It's a little nuanced, certainly. And everyone will find this slightly different depending on your major or university. But at least for me, the concept is certainly very similar. Like you have your classes, you go to them, they might be longer or shorter depending on what you do. But I found particularly for grad school that yes, you have your classes that you go to, but it's what you do outside those classes is a lot more important. Grad classes tend to be a lot more rigorous, and not to mention you'll probably be doing research, you might be working a job, which has its own set of challenges, as I learned the hard way this past semester. But the concept's the same. You show up, go to class, do your homework, etc. But you probably just need to be prepared for the increased amount of time, both for that class and outside of class, that you're going to have to spend. Not to mention other stuff will pop up. You might have group projects, other events as well. So time management is probably the biggest factor in this whole, I guess, in this on this topic, what you do both during and outside of class.
Sorry to mute myself because my phone was ringing. My office phone started ringing, which like never happens. But here we are. I think those are, yeah, the big differences. Graduate classes tend to involve more work, more focused work in a shorter period of time. It's definitely, it can be a challenge to juggle with jobs and internships and life. And so really finding that time management and that balance might be a little different than what you had as an undergraduate, and that's okay. Just accept and embrace it. It's easier that way. So finding the right graduate program is often kind of different than finding the right undergraduate program, because as an undergraduate, you're kind of like, okay, at least for me, I was like, who's going to offer me some scholarships so that I have the least amount of student loans? And that like drove my entire undergraduate school selection. Graduate school, you're really thinking about what's going to be right for you to help you achieve those goals that we were just talking about. So if you're looking to gain research experience, then you have to make sure that there's faculty and facilities and the kinds of things that you might need at that university to really do the research that you want to do. If they specialize in sprockets and you want to study apples, it might not be the best fit for you, right? At the same time, like I fully aware it can be a little tricky to figure that out. And so there might be a lot of emailing of faculty to ask them, you know, what are you currently working on? Do you have funding to support any graduate students? But also reading websites and reading people's publications to really make sure that they're doing the research you want to do. On the other hand, if your goal is like, I just need this master's degree so I can make an extra $10,000 a year at my job, then maybe you're looking for the fastest, lowest cost way to get your master's degree. And then, you know, other factors are like, where do you want to live? Where can you afford to live? Do you want to do an online master's or do you want to have an in-person experience? That's a very personal choice. I mean, if you're a worldwide student, you're used to learning online. And so maybe you want to continue, but also maybe you think, no, I want to be in a classroom and really get to know a cohort, in which case you might decide to look at the universities near you to kind of see what options they have. But it's really thinking about that area of specialization. And then if the ever important question is always master's versus doctorate, my in a nutshell advice is don't get a PhD unless there's a job you want to have that requires a PhD. Save yourself the 5 years. And I'll let Miles talk about the specialization since he has majored in one thing as an undergraduate and then is a slightly different field as a graduate student.
Yeah, so maybe later I'll show you guys my spreadsheet that I use while going through this whole process if I can find it again. I think I have it on my drive somewhere. But I guess I think that's the first question as far as area specialization. Professionally, I'm an embedded software engineer, hence the group background in software engineering at Embry-Riddle. But I switched to electrical engineering here at Penn because as I was going through my grad school search, I found that I actually looked at the curriculum of all the majors here. So you might, for me at least, you'd be looking at things such as computer science, computer engineering, electrical engineering, systems engineering, things in STEM for the most part. But I looked through the curriculum, the classes and requirements for that degree and found that electrical engineering more matched what I do professionally and my interests. So I picked that particular degree program. And that also correlated to what faculty I was interested in working with. So you can, when you go through your process after like you start narrowing down what schools you want to go to and you say, all right, well, if I want to get involved in research, who am I going to work with? More than likely you'll be looking at faculty in that department, and then you can see what their interests are just by getting their name, Googling it, and then seeing their website, their LinkedIn, their CV, whatever. And of course, send them an email. They might not always respond, or you might not get the response you're looking for. Professors are busy, but it doesn't hurt to at least reach out as long as you're respectful and you don't like disrespect their time. you'll usually get at least a decent response back. And if you ask early enough, they might be willing to like hold a conversation with you, or at least remember your name when you apply. And that goes a long way as far as you getting into grad school.
Absolutely. Okay. We kind of talked about this. I have extra slides because these slides, I've already said, make the slides available after the presentation to everybody so you have a copy. But you can find advisors by asking current professors, looking in scientific journals. Depending on your field, you might want to look at preprint servers. Also looking at conferences. So you don't just have to go to a conference. You can also go on the website for the conference and do a keyword search and see who's giving a talk at that conference that's related to what you want to be studying or what you want to be doing. And then you can look up where they work and go from there. But attend a conference if you can, obviously. Researching, I already talked about researching programs. This is kind of a timeline that could happen, especially if you apply for external funding, but that you might apply for that external funding for graduate school in the sort of June to December timeframe. December and January is when a lot of graduate school deadlines are. You hear back in March or April. And then if you have funding, you'll receive that funding and start graduate school in sort of August, September. That's kind of a very typical time frame. Um, on the funding side, which we'll get to in a few slides, there's typically less funding available for those who start in January or who start in the summer compared to those who start in the fall. So that's just something to keep in mind. Your own timeline might be different, but I just want to put that out there so that you aren't surprised if they tell you, oh, well, we don't really fund people who start in the spring. You're kind of on your own. So what do you actually need to have to apply? Pretty much every application is going to ask for a personal statement. They might call it a statement of purpose. They might call it a statement of interest, but they're going to call it something. And that statement is really, who are you and what is it you're trying to do and why? And if your end goal is specialized knowledge that I can use in my career, you want to say that in the essay so that they understand what it is you're hoping to get out of their program, because that helps give them confidence that you have a plan and that you're not just there to be like, well, I didn't know what to do when I finished my bachelor's degree, so I thought I'd do more school and then more school and then more school, and I'll figure it out in 5 or 10 years, right? You really want to make it clear that this is what you want to do. Here's why you want to do it. And here's how this graduate degree at this school fits into your broader career plans and is going to help get you where you're trying to go in the future. Miles, any additional personal statement of purpose notes?
Start early because you're gonna have more than one revision. At least for me, I had the privilege, I would call it, to have my technical report writing teacher, Dr. Nader. If anyone at Amarillo campus or Daytona Beach campus gets to take her class, do so and tell her I said hi because I heavily rate her, or highly rate her at least. But start early because you're still taking classes, you still have other stuff going on as an undergrad. I was there too. It's not fun. That semester you apply is going to suck. But you don't want to wait till the last minute before your application's due. Like, even if you might think a month is enough time, but honestly, I don't think it is. When you get into your fall or spring semester or the year before you're thinking of going to grad school, that's probably when you want to start considering like, all right, what do I want my like personal statement to be? Even if it's not a full draft, start planning it out a little bit because the deadline's going to come soon and it's not going to be perfect the first time. And even Dr. Davis, I think she saw some of my early drafts and it wasn't amazing. By the end it got there, but it took some time. I at least 5 different revisions and then a couple different tweaks per each school, which I guess also just a slight note. I know I'm going on a tangent, but for each school, don't recycle the same personal statement. That doesn't mean to make a whole new one from scratch. You can use the same foundational one, but it should be tweaked slightly for each school because of the factors you've like highlighted or what the reasons why you want to go to that school at least. Like if you see a certain professor or there's a club or organization you want to join, make sure to highlight that in your personal statement per each university.
Absolutely. I'll let somebody else handle the waiting room. And I would just also add that don't be afraid to toot your own horn here. You need to have your praises sung in your recommendation letters. Most schools require 3, some require 2. If you're staying on for a worldwide master's degree as an Embry-Riddle alum, you might not need any recommendation letters. So it's always a good thing. But your curriculum vitae, which is like the academic version of a resume, and your personal statement are your chance to tell your story and your qualifications for the degree that you're pursuing. So don't take that lightly. It's really your chance to sell yourself. And I'll just give an example of something that I read actually earlier today in a meeting with a student. And they'd written something like, I hope to pursue a PhD in the future. And I was like, do you hope to pursue it or are you going to pursue it? You need to put the confidence about you and what you want to do and why you want to do it into your writing and into all of your documents. Because for many schools, that's all they're going to use to decide whether or not they admit you or not. They're not going to have an interview. They're not going to bring you in and ask you questions. They're not going to call you and ask you questions. And so it's really, they're reading that file that you have sent them electronically, and they're making a decision about whether or not to admit you based on that. And so the language needs to be strong. It needs to be polished. If you're a worldwide student, certainly use the Vector Virtual Communication Lab for assistance with that writing, and get as many people to look at it as you can. If you're already working, ask your colleagues if they'll look at it. Ask your supervisor if they'll look at it, because that will just give you that feedback that you can use to make sure that you're not forgetting some of your key accomplishments, and also to make sure that you are putting yourself out there in the strongest way possible. So less of the, I hope to do something. If I get lucky, this is a phrase I read a lot in student writing, like if I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do this thing, and you're like, no, I want to go to your graduate school so I can do the things I want to do. That's how you really need to write it. I said recommendation letters, GRE. So the graduate record examination. Everyone's least favorite thing is standardized test. I think we can all agree. If you're a fan of standardized tests, please email me. I have lots of people who would love to talk to you. The GRE costs $200 to take, and they send your scores to 4 schools. And then each additional school is an additional $15. If it's not required, my advice is skip it. That is $200 you can save and treat yourself to a very nice dinner somewhere, possibly with a companion at that price, depending on where you live. If it is required, I recommend studying for it and preparing for it. It is an electronic examination, which is different than standardized tests you might have taken in the past. And it's an adaptive test. And so it will ask you harder or easier questions based on how you did on the previous questions. The good thing about that is that you get your score for the math section and the analytical section kind of immediately. And then you get your score for the writing section later, because those are still read by humans, not by AI yet.
Can I add something to the
Yeah.
GRE bit as well? So, total disclaimer, I hate standardized testing with a passion. I've never been good at it. I actually ended up taking the GRE twice. And I just want to add that maybe don't take it during your semester, take it during the summer more than likely. The reason why I'm saying that is because studying for this test is not trivial. It actually is very involved, and it's hard to balance with like your regular course load, and that's the reason why I did so poorly. I say poorly, but I was just okay, it was below average, so poorly on the first time, and hence why I took it again during the summer. During the break or summer, you have a lot more free time. Even with an internship, which I was doing, it's easier at least to get off work, come home, study for 2-3 hours, and still be motivated enough to keep that up consistently. And on top of that, it's just a lot easier to balance. The only case I would say to where even if it's not required to take a GRE, where you still might want to, is if you're looking at scholarships. Some fellowships do either require or recommend it, which you should look at ahead of time to decide. But if it's not required for you to take the GRE, I would also agree with the sentiment, don't take it, because A, that money can go towards something else, or B, you can use that time to like make your profile or portfolio a lot stronger, because the amount of time you spend studying will go a long way in like learning new skills, working on more projects, and people look more highly at that than they will at, oh, well, you got a high score on this test. Okay, you might get a scholarship here, but like, are you going to get into this program? And
Absolutely.
yeah, that's about it, really.
Yeah. No, it's a tough decision. Talk to people about it, but know that it is an investment of time and money if you need to take the GRE. Obviously, if it's required, it's just one of those things you're going to do. That's what happens. And I didn't put application fee on here, but there are application fees.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Typically, you're going to need 2 to 3 recommendation letters. My advice is always give people time and also give them materials. So they are going to want to know things about you, right? So you want to give them a copy of your resume, a copy of your application materials. You want to make sure that they understand what schools you're applying to, why you're applying to those programs, what it is you're hoping to do, so that they can sell your accomplishments. Your recommendation letters don't need to all come from professors. They can come from other people who can talk about your research and technical skills or your academic ability, and certainly people who can talk about your professional character. So obviously double check the criteria, make sure you have the right number of letters. Give people plenty of time. So give them 3 to 5 weeks, ideally, to write their recommendation letter, knowing that they're going to write it at the absolute last minute. But at least then that they've had the information. And some websites, application websites, actually won't send out the request for the recommendation letter until you've submitted your application. This is evil and cruel, but it is also life. So double check on that as you're working on your application, because you don't want to be in a situation where the application deadline is January 15th, but it turns out they don't send out your rec letter request until you hit submit, and you don't realize that until January 14th, because then it's a scramble for everybody. And as Rose said, please feel free to put questions in the chat. Just a quick thing about the CV. CV is curriculum vitae. It is like Latin, I think. These are academic. So you're going to do more than you might do on your resume to really highlight your projects and highlight your research experiences and any presentations or publications that you might have. And because of that, it can be longer than 1 or 2 pages like you're used to for a resume. Um, this is really, think of it as here's all the cool stuff I've done and why you, and here's what makes me qualified, and here's all of my key professional accomplishments, but with explanation. And for the research and projects, my advice to everybody is always have the first bullet be what the overall goal or aim of that project was, and then use the rest of your bullets to really describe what you did and explain it. That really is kind of the expectation at the graduate level. Okay, actually, I'm going to pause and read this thing in the chat, which is about funding. Okay, great. Perfect. Great. We're about to get to funding, so this is excellent timing. There are 3 main sources of funding for graduate school, and those are employers, the university itself, and then external fellowships. So a little bit about those. Employer funding is, if you are employed full-time, especially full-time, but also sometimes at places part-time, you may be eligible for tuition assistance, and you may also be eligible for educational assistance programs from your employer. And so these are things that you can look into as part of your benefits, talk to human resources about. Typically, the tuition assistance is capped at, I think it's $5,250, because the IRS has set a limit that makes like things below that less tax for you and for the employer. But some places have tuition benefits beyond that. So for example, as an Embry-Riddle employee, I can take 6 classes per year, and at the graduate level, I would just have to pay tax on the tuition that I'm not paying, but I don't actually have to pay tuition for the classes themselves. And so it's always worth looking to see what benefits your employer has. And if you're searching for a job, I advise everybody, ask your future employer about that as you're considering working for them. What benefits do they have to offer? Now, the answer might be nothing, but the answer might also be, oh, well, we would pay for a class every year. Well, that's money that you didn't know you could get, right? And so it's just worth asking. I'm not saying that the answer is always going to be yes. And then in terms of university funding, if you're planning to go full time, especially at an on-campus university, you might find that the department that you're going into has funding available for graduate students to work as teaching assistants, so grading papers for undergraduates, maybe running a lab class for undergraduates. They might also have research assistant positions where you're assisting faculty members with their research. Sometimes you can use that research for your own master's thesis, which is like an added benefit. Some universities offer tuition waivers where they actually waive the amount of your tuition so that you don't have to pay that, which is obviously a very good deal. Tuition's expensive. And then there might be, depending on the university, university-wide funding, grants or fellowships that you can apply for, that every graduate student at the university can apply for and look into to kind of help fund their graduate degree. So far, so good. Clayton, I see your question. I'm going to get there. These two slides are just to tell you that there are a variety of externally funded graduate fellowships that, depending on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it, might be able to provide you with some significant funding and tuition waiver support in order to pursue your graduate degree. So on the STEM side, the kind of 4 premier ones are the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship Program, the Hertz Fellowship, the National Defense Science and Engineering Fellowship, and the DoD SMART Scholarship. Don't you worry, I'm going to put a link to my website so that you don't have to memorize all these names. Other graduate fellowships are things like the Schwartzman Scholars Program, the Pickering Fellowship, the Fulbright U.S. Student Program, the PD Soares Fellowship, and there are more. Like I said, I'll put a link in. And so that was all really fast because I feel like the best thing I can do is answer questions for people. And I will start with the 2 that are in the chat, and then you all can keep adding questions and we'll go from there. Okay, let me stop sharing so that I can more easily read the chat. Okay, so active duty military. My first suggestion would be to apply for the Tillman Scholarship if you haven't already. The Tillman Scholarship deadline is February 1st this year. Let me grab a link for you to that one. The Tillman Scholarship is designed to work with any military benefits that you might already have. It's also designed to sort of support active duty and veteran spouses, military spouses, as they transition to the next step in their careers and in their lives. So that would, the average award for a Tillman is about $12,000 a year. So that would certainly do well going towards your aerospace engineering master's degree that you were asking about. In terms of programs and scholarships specifically at Embry-Riddle, I'll be perfectly honest, that is like the one thing my office doesn't do. We do external funding primarily, so I'm not sure what funding is available through Embry-Riddle Worldwide, but Worldwide does have a financial aid website that you can go to get more information, or that you can send an email and ask for information, and I will attempt to find that link, but if I might need help. I don't know that I have that one bookmarked.
If you want, I can keep answering questions while you try to find that
Yes,
link.
found it. Okay.
Oh, never mind
Yeah,
then.
go ahead.
for
No,
it.
go ahead, Miles.
Oh, all right. What should you be next after graduating? I'm not certain if this is referring to immediately after you finish your undergrad or bachelor's, or if you're referring to like after you finish your graduate degree. A little clarification as far as that would be nice, but assuming if you mean as soon as you finish your bachelor's, there's usually 2 paths I've seen people take as far as what to do after their bachelor's, as far as going to grad school. For my case, I went straight into grad school. So immediately after after graduating business degree. Okay, I'm still going to, I think that still means undergrad, but the 2 paths most common is you go straight into your graduate degree or any graduate degree program. The other path is some people will take a gap year, or basically they leave the academic field for like a year to work, go overseas, do something else. Both of these have their ups and downs. For me, the positive of going straight into graduate school immediately after was that I didn't have to worry about returning from industry to academia. I was still pretty much in the student mindset, which is actually a bigger deal than people make it out to be, because I have friends now who working at Boeing who are struggling to do that. Downside though, you don't really have much of a break. Kind of unfortunate if you feel burnout easily, or if you kind of get swamped in your first semester, it can take its toll. It's not as easy. It's a lot more fast paced and difficult. But I found that definitely for me, going straight into grad school would just be easier long term than it would be to come back and then having to readjust and also have to worry about like, oh, I have work priorities now, or I have to deal with life. It's like, no, you're still a student, you have less responsibilities. Keep being a student. I hope that answers the question. Jacob asks, could you talk a little more about the 4+1 program and process at Brittle? I didn't do this one, obviously, but I definitely did consider it. So the 4+1 program, also just commonly referred to as an accelerated master's, is essentially where in your final semester or your final year at Embry-Riddle, when you're a senior, you take, I believe, 2 or 3 graduate courses and they get counted as electives. What that effectively does is you get treated as a graduate student early. And then because you've taken 2 or 3 graduate credits or classes, your graduate degree is now less time as a result of that. So instead of taking 2 years for your master's, it'll end up being maybe a year and a half because you already have some graduate credits applied to your transcript already. It's certainly an option if you're willing to take that. I would say try to get that funded before going into that. If you find a professor that you'd be willing to work with, or they're saying they express interest in you working with them, then I think it's a great idea. It's certainly great on paper as well. Like, hey, don't have to worry about student debt. You get a master's in a year, less time than the average person, at least less than me. Sounds like a pretty good gig. But that's really all there is to it. It's just you start your master's a little bit earlier than most people would. And I believe you have to apply for that during your junior year for most programs. So I think it's slightly different for every major, but I think most of them, I'd say you have to have, I think, somewhere within the neighborhood of 60 to 80 credits, if I remember correctly. All right.
I will answer the next one. I got
Go for it.
Steve's question. So is there a GPA requirement from your bachelor's degree to apply to your master's? That is going to be entirely dependent on the school and program you are applying to. Some programs set a GPA minimum of 2.0, some set a 2.5, some set a 2.8, some set a 3.0. But any minimum is going to be really specific to what it is you're trying to do. So I don't want to say there's a GPA requirement for everything because it really does depend. And many schools waive the GPA requirement if you have already earned a degree from that institution. Does your bachelor's have to be in the same field as your master's? Absolutely not. My bachelor's and master's are not in the same field. Miles' bachelor and master's are not in the same field. It's, yeah, meeting the prerequisite requirements. There might be, depending on how different the degrees are, they might require you to take an undergraduate course or a preparatory course before you can launch into the full graduate course load. My degrees are in very different fields, undergraduate and graduate. And so they said, in your first semester, we want you to audit this undergraduate class to make sure that you have all the foundational knowledge you'll need to be successful as a graduate student. I didn't even have to take it for credit. I didn't have to do the test. It was great. Not having to do the test and buy the book was amazing, but it was just sitting on this class. And so that might be something that happens depending on what you're trying to do. Now, if your degrees, I mean, you said MBA, Steve, but I just, for the record, since this is recorded, if you are trying to go to like med school and you didn't take a single biology or chemistry class, that's not going to work. You're going to need to take those prerequisites before you apply to med school in that example. But for MBA programs, and I'm pretty sure this is true for the MBA at Worldwide, there are some prerequisite classes and knowledge that they want you to have, and they might admit you conditional on completing that class and performing well in it. But they're not going to say, no, go earn an entirely new undergraduate business degree before you can do the MBA.
I will also add that GPA does not like dictate whether or not you get accepted into a school. As students, we do tend to get caught up in the numbers, but I found that GPA after a certain extent matters a little less. Like obviously we want the best GPA we can, but I think for grad school in particular, it's not the end all be all. What matters more is like your personal statement, whatever experiences you have outside of the classroom, internships, research, etc. I think that makes a difference more than your GPA does.
Absolutely. If only 4.0 students got into graduate school, we wouldn't have very many graduate school alums.
Yeah.
Including me.
And me.
Including me. Just to be clear, I did not have a 4.0 as an undergraduate. I excelled in graduate school only. And thank you, Rachel. So there's a pre-flight business orientation for non-business students coming into the MBA aviation program at the ERU Worldwide campus. Thank you for adding that. I am not an admissions expert on specific programs, just as a caveat, but I can provide good general information. For academics to careers, in what sense, Clayton? Please help. Like, do you mean in terms of thinking about how to take your academics and translate them into a career? You can unmute yourself if that's easier. Okay. I don't know of any specific programs for that, but I know that career services staff, I'm going to speak on behalf of Arnold and his staff. They are amazing at helping people think through, what have I done? What does this connect to? And there's also some like questionnaires and inventories that they can work with you on that you can complete to kind of see, here's the kind of stuff I'm most interested in. What kind of career might that lead to? And then in addition, she couldn't be here today, but I just want to tout the services of Alumni Career Engagement and Angie Engel, who works with Embry-Riddle alums who are 2 years past their graduation date. And so there is also that support for thinking about what am I going to do in the future? So if graduate school isn't like a now for you, which it doesn't have to be, it could be a few years from now, you can still come back and use your services as an alum of Embry-Riddle to get assistance with that. And I'm maybe Arnold and your team, if you guys have any specific programs planned for academics to careers and moving from one to the other, if you could share information about that, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Brittany. And could you maybe touch a little bit on the 4+1? And if not, I know Dr. Vignes is on the call as well.
Yeah, Miles talked a little bit about it. He probably said everything that I know about 4+1s.
Okay.
Not an admissions expert here. Not an admissions expert. So I can't touch on 4+1s very much, unfortunately.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they're just not my area of expertise. I'm so sorry.
I know a little bit because I did consider it at one point, but it's a little bit of residual knowledge now. So I would say, at least to add on to what I mentioned earlier, do talk to your like program coordinator, your advisors. I know a little bit of tension sometimes between students and advisors, but definitely talk to them about like if there are any requirements as far as getting into that, as well as professors, because they will most certainly know more and know the correct information versus what I might know.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes remaining. I think we have some great questions coming in today, and these slides will be available after the presentation. Are there any other additional questions? Great. Let's see, Dr. Vignes, if you want to, did you want to unmute Dr. Vignes?
Only to mention that in the Worldwide College of Business, we don't have a 4+1 program in current catalog. However, I do know, yes, absolutely, there's other colleges that might have similar or related options. What Miles, you mentioned, the benefit obviously being that accelerated feature, again, was spot on. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you again, Miles. And I want just to take a minute before we conclude. I want to introduce our Worldwide SGA Vice President who popped on the call here. So my pleasure to Jacob Pritchard join us. Jacob, great to have you here. I want to have a few words to say at this time.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, thank you for hosting this. It was actually very insightful as far as just learning a little bit more about the different master's programs and everything like that. Specifically myself, I was looking at the 4+1, and that's why I started asking those vendors questions. Currently in the process of talking with my academic advisor about that, since I guess there was a little bit of miscommunication early on in my understudies as far as going into that program, but we're going to work through it and get it taken care of. But I do appreciate all the great information on here, and I think this is a great resource that the C.A.R.E.E.R Club is putting on here.
Thank you, Jacob. We appreciate the support from the Student Government Association So just great to have you on the call today. Again, we want to remind everyone, and first of all, thank you so much, Brittany and Miles. It was definitely a pleasure to have you. A lot of great information. I'm glad that we recorded this, and we will definitely share this on our platform. So thank you so very much for a great presentation. We have so much more coming that we're planning. Want to remind everyone again that we have an in-person employer site visit scheduled for March the 8th. If you're in the aviation maintenance field, or even if you're in something maybe related to that, if you're interested in attending that, could we perhaps, Amy, go back to that slide and put that QR code up for those that may be interested in registering for that? You certainly may do so. The deadline is actually to register is January the 30th. So we have just about a week or a couple of weeks before we close out the registration. So let's see, any last minute items, Rose, that we need to cover? And of course, for those who don't know, Rose is our advisor for the C.A.R.E.E.R Club. So you turn it over to her, have last remarks there, we'll end the presentation.
Okay. As far as I know right now, I think we covered everything that needs to be covered. I don't know if Amy stepped away from her desk for a minute. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly then, just so you can see I'm not in present mode, but you can see the QR code if anybody is interested in attending that C.A.R.E.E.R employer site visit. And please, if you have any recommendations, we are all ears. This club is for you, our students. So we definitely want to make sure that if you have an interest, if you have a want, if there's anything that we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And you can join if you want to get into e-union, and then look up the campus groups, and then look for the C.A.R.E.E.R Club, and we'll be able to reach out, respond, right in an e-union, or you can email us directly. We're all here. Amy Dowling is also on the call, and she is one of the C.A.R.E.E.R Club members as well. So give you a little princess wave, Miss Amy. And if you have any questions at all, any one of us are more than happy to assist you.
Rose, I do see several of our career services staff that's also on. Yes. There's Miss Andrea Armstrong, Miss America. There you go.
There we go.
And did I see?
Nope, I think that's it.
I think that's it. Okay, great. Awesome. And again, Daniel Bush, I see that, I know he was on earlier, but Daniel, again, shout out to you. He's our student ambassador for the C.A.R.E.E.R Club. Daniel, we appreciate you. Do you have a couple of words to say, Daniel?
Yes, sir. Just want to say, formally say hey to everybody. So, I've just got this position recently, but I'm definitely looking forward to working with everybody moving forward. So feel free to ask me any questions, shoot me an email, or any questions, advice, anything y'all have. I'm more than welcome to work it up and communicate it to everybody as well. So I look forward to working with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Absolutely.
All right. If that's it, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and look for the next section, which should be the March 8th. Actually, in February, I mentioned it briefly. In February, we will have a session. We're finalizing the date right now. Right now, it looks like it's going to be on February 14th. We'll have a session on career competencies. If you want to talk about jet fuel that fuels your career and your resume and everything, we're going to be covering the career competencies and how you can incorporate those into your resume to really enhance your marketability to employers. So you really don't want to miss that. We'll have that information up here probably sometime next week. All right, so thank you so much. Have a great day and have a great weekend.